Developing right now on Morning News Now, Francine's fury. This morning, parts of the South underwater from now Tropical Storm Francine. The late summer storm making landfall in Louisiana as a Category 2 hurricane yesterday afternoon, unleashing heavy rain, powerful winds, and dangerous flash flooding, and leaving hundreds of thousands of people without power. Now Francine losing some steam as it churns north. We have team coverage. Plus, sequel to a showdown this morning, the Harris campaign calling for a second presidential debate between the vice president and former President Trump.
Are we going to do a rematch? I just don't know. I would do NBC. I'd do Fox, too.
Also, fallout over Mr. Trump's comments about immigrants and pets. We'll sort through the claims. And could Swifties be the deciding vote in November? Well, we will explore just how much celebrity influence could impact the election. Plus, dangerous doses, a new warning about popular drugs used to treat ADHD. What doctors want you to know about the risks of high doses. And it's being called career catfishing. That's right, it's not just on dating apps. A new survey shows managers and prospective employees are lying during job interviews. It's becoming more common. We will fill you in.
That seems problematic, so we'll delve into why that's happening and what you can do about it.
What are people lying about? We'll tell you everything.
Good to have you with us on this Thursday morning. I'm Joe Fryer.
Yeah, we're glad you're here. I'm Savannah Sellers. We begin with the latest on Francine. The system has weakened to a tropical storm, but not before slamming Louisiana as a Category 2 hurricane.
This morning, hundreds of thousands in the Gulf Coast are waking up without power. This storm made landfall around 5 p.m. local time yesterday, bringing 100-mile-an-hour winds, heavy rain, and widespread flooding. Overnight, a Jefferson Parish Council member said the canals and pumps in the region just west of New Orleans were overwhelmed, with some spots seeing 8 inches of rain. And take a look at this. A driver in New Orleans had to be rescued by a Good Samaritan after he drove his truck into floodwaters. You can see him pull the man out of his truck and then over to nearby police and firefighters. That's Good Samaritan told our affiliate that his background as an ER nurse helped him stay calm. We have full team coverage of the storm, from the latest track to the biggest problems facing first responders. But let's begin with NBC News correspondent Jesse Kirsch, who is in New Orleans. Jesse, how are things looking right now? What are you seeing this morning?
Yeah, so Joe, right behind us is a section of roadway here that is at least partially flooded. We've seen cars driving through it, so it doesn't appear to be that deep, but I can tell you that we saw the water and immediately pumped the brakes and pulled over to the side and came around the other way to meet our team, because general rule of thumb, you do not want to be going through floodwaters. And as you just talked about right there, there are times that water can be a lot deeper than you might think when you're driving into it. So that's the scene over here in this part of the city. I can tell you that largely New Orleans seems to be doing okay. There are tens of thousands of power outages reported at last check in this area, in this parish in Louisiana. There are other areas that are much harder hit in terms of the power outages. And I can tell you, in this area, I can see lights on someone's porch. The street lights are on over here. So this area where we're in right now seems to have power. Hundreds of thousands of people, though, across the state are without power. I can tell you it's relatively cool out right now. You know, it can get kind of humid. I shouldn't say kind of. It can get pretty humid in this part of the country. And even yesterday during the day, you could just feel this swampiness, this humidity. We're not feeling that right now. There's a light breeze going through here. And I say that because for people who do not have power, right, if you're trying to get some relief from that early fall, late summer, right, conditions here, those people hopefully will be doing okay relative to what it could be if it was a lot hotter right now. But of course, once it clears up, you get the sun out, that could change. So we'll be keeping an eye out for that as well. But I can just tell you, here in the city of New Orleans again as well, we got cars still moving through here. So all these people going through those floodwaters. So it doesn't seem to be too deep over here right now. And as we continue to see what impacts this storm has had, I can tell you we were getting alerts from our phone at one point. Some cell phone carriers, their customers appear to be having issues connecting with 911 in New Orleans. I was getting an alert about that. We got an alert about some issue with sewerage system pumping, asking people to conserve water or conserve the use of water until they were able to sort that out. So again, that's just locally in the city of New Orleans. We're still getting the full picture, as we often are with a storm like this, especially when it goes on in the evening hours. As daylight comes up, I think we'll get a better sense of the true extent of damage.
Jesse, what is the latest that we're hearing from city officials about getting the power back on for those hundreds of thousands that are without it?
So again, the hundreds of thousands, Savannah, is across the state. It's not localized to just one community. So we're still gathering details on the broader picture. But I can tell you, in the city of New Orleans, based on the last report I saw, it's in the tens of thousands in this area, in this community, this parish, which is effectively like what you would think of as a county in other states. So it's not localized to just one community, one city. It seems, but I can tell you from where we are right now, it does not appear that this is one of those areas that doesn't have power, Savannah.
All right, Jesse Kirsch, we know you can't stay dry, but we hope you and your team continue to stay safe. Thank you so much.
Well, for more on the impact that Francine is having on the ground there, we're joined now by Justin Hill. He's the Public Information Officer with the Baton Rouge Fire Department. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us on a busy morning, I'm sure. Just tell us, from what you've seen so far, what are the biggest impacts of this storm on the city?
So right now, the biggest impact we've had is the power outages that they were speaking about earlier. Throughout the state, they got over, close to 300,000 people without power. And I know the winds have passed and the rains are subsiding, but now we have with all these people without power, and we worry about people using generators improperly, so we lose more people in the state of Louisiana to, CO poisoning, carbon monoxide poisoning than we actually do to storms, for the most part. So just we're being mindful of that.
In addition to the power outages and the fallen power lines, I know you have downed trees, you have road closures all around the area. Now that the storm is starting to pull away, what are your biggest challenges?
So the biggest challenges is going to be, being able to navigate through the city. We have our Department of Public Works out removing debris and trees from the roadways. We just want to urge all the citizens to stay home, and allow the responders to get out in the community and take care of the things that they need to take care of. Last night, we responded to about 30 weather-related calls, from our department. And, and most of those calls were in reference to down power lines or down, investigations.
Those down power lines can be a hazard, of course, also as power comes back on. We understand in your area you've dealt with house fires in the past. Once that power comes back on, then as it gets hot, that's another concern, of course, if people don't have air conditioning. But what do you want people who live in your area to know in order to stay safe, even once, the rain, the wind goes away? How can they stay safe in the next few days with these other dangers?
So just make sure that if we're using those generators, we're using them properly. Keep them at least 20 feet from any opening in the homes. That includes windows, soffit vents, things like that. Use the proper extension cords when they're using those generators. Make sure they cool them down before they refuel them. And when it comes to being without power and power kicks back on, people will have electric ovens or electric stoves, and they'll leave stuff sitting on top of them during, the power outage. And when the power kicks back on, there's something on top of the stove, and that burner may have been left on. So just be mindful of things like that. Look out for their neighbors and, help each other out in these times.
We're just past the peak of hurricane season, but there are still a couple months left until it ends. Louisiana, no stranger to hurricanes, big and smaller. Do you feel, as far as Francine is concerned so far, that you might have dodged a bullet? And just how worried are you about the rest of this hurricane season?
Well, we're always worried through hurricane season. That's our biggest challenges throughout the year, for the most part. So, yeah, I do believe we dodged a bullet with this one. We're thankful for that, but we always just stay vigilant and just be prepared for the next one when it does come.
Justin Hill, thank you very much. We appreciate your time while you're dealing with this. Stay safe.
Thank you.
This morning, dangerous weather conditions are also impacting tens of thousands of people out west because of raging wildfires. These are some of those terrifying scenes as more than 65 large fires were burning across the U.S. on Wednesday, most of them in California, Oregon, and Nevada. Across California, more than 34,000 people were under evacuation orders on Wednesday following a triple-digit heat wave over the weekend. Dozens of homes have already been burned by the state's largest active fire in the mountains above Los Angeles, that one called the Bridge Fire. More than 2,000 structures are also at risk in that area as the fire continues to grow. 10 western states were under red flag warnings and fire watches. No state is battling more large fires than Oregon, where 24 fires are now burning. So far this year, wildfires have torched nearly 7 million acres of land across the country. That's an area a bit bigger than the size of Vermont. Let's get to your morning news now. Weather as we continue to track Francine in the south, plus those wildfire warnings in the west.
Yeah, Angie Lessman's in studio with us with it all. Angie, good morning.
Good morning, guys. Busy on the weather front. We've got lots to talk about. Let's, of course, start with Tropical Storm Francine. It is hanging on to the tropical storm characteristics right now. We'll likely see this weakening here as the next day or so goes on. But either way, there's a whole lot of moisture associated with it. We've got a tornado watch in effect for folks across the panhandle of Florida and stretching into Alabama. We'll touch on that here in a moment. But notice winds down to 45 miles per hour. It is 60 miles to the north of New Orleans as far as the center of that storm. And it's going to continue to work to the northeast here over the next day or so before it kind of stalls out. One thing we're really concerned about, no surprise, we've been talking about this for days, the heavy rain associated with this. Those low-lying areas have seen impressive flooding. We've seen the visuals coming out of specifically Louisiana across that region this morning. But we've got plenty of flood alerts in effect, 12 million people in total. But notice where the flash flood warnings are, centered around Jackson, centered across portions of the panhandle of Florida. The good news is those have since expired for New Orleans. So some minor improvement there, but we will take it, of course. More rain on the way, but a little farther to the north. So we're going to start to see the rain wrap up for folks across Louisiana, at least the southern portions, and southern Alabama. But notice places like Memphis, we could see upwards of 3 inches of rain and the possibility for some isolated spots to receive upwards of 5, even 6 inches. So the flooding will be considerable. We'll still be dealing with this here as we get into tomorrow. Notice the system does weaken, but really it doesn't change those impacts. We're still going to look at the heavy rainfall with some really impressive rainfall rates over the next day or so. I mentioned those tornadoes. They'll be possible here through the afternoon hours, specifically from the Florida Panhandle into Alabama. That's where we're going to see kind of those bands still spinning on in. It's not hard for us to see some spin-ups with some of those outer bands. So that's something you'll have to watch for, again, not just this morning, but even as the system center moves to the north, it'll be across that region. Now, winds are going to start to be less of an issue, but they're not nothing. I mean, we've got 40, 50 mile per hour winds. 50 mile per hour winds are kind of where we look to see if we'll see power outages, additional power outages, I should say, or down trees. So we could see some of those. Notice Meridian is looking at a peak wind gust around 50 miles per hour. I think the strongest of them closer to 60 miles per hour, but even still 30, 40 mile per hour winds, not great across this region, and something we'll deal with through the day today. And once we're done with Francine in the next couple of days, we've got plenty of other things to watch. Now, there's 2 areas that we're watching of disturbed weather, 94L and 92L. You can see those just to the east of the Leeward and Windward Islands. Not too worried about those right now, only a 10% chance of developing. We already have Tropical Depression 7. That'll likely develop into, or strengthen, I should say, here over the coming days. So we'll watch that. It's still well out into the Atlantic. So to be determined exactly what that is. And then off the coast of the southeast, we have an area that we'll be keeping a close eye on, guys, over the next few days, potentially a tropical depression. Right now, 30% chance of development. So long way to go.
Busy out there.
Hurricanes, the whole country, too. So much going on.
Indeed.
Thank you, Angie. Well, now let's get to the race for the White House as the candidates return to the campaign trail today for the first time since this week's presidential debate.
Vice President Harris is heading to North Carolina. She's going to hold events later today in Charlotte and Greensboro. North Carolina is a battleground state that Harris is looking to turn blue in November. Former President Trump won the state back in 2020 and in 2016. As for Mr. Trump, he's set to hold a campaign event today in Tucson, Arizona. Both VP Harris and Mr. Trump met briefly again yesterday, shaking hands at the 9/11 Remembrance Ceremony here in New York, just hours after their debate in Philadelphia.
More than 67 million people tuned in Tuesday night, according to Nielsen estimates. That's more than the 51 million viewers who watched former President Trump take on President Biden back in June. We've got NBC News senior national politics reporter Jonathan Allen joining us with the latest. John, good morning. So let's talk about the potential for a debate rematch. So former president, he's been non-committal, gone kind of back and forth about whether he would take part in a second debate. We have heard Vice President Harris call for one. Where do we think things stand right now with less than 8 weeks until the election?
There's nothing like a debate about debates, guys. Look, I think there's a pretty good likelihood that there will be at least one more debate between these two. Certainly the Harris team felt like she did very well. Trump says that he did very well. His behavior suggests that he may understand that he didn't have the best night of his general election debate history, which ranges back, I think, 7 debates now. But I think the Harris folks still have some sale to make, meaning, she's still got a bunch of voters who aren't completely sold on the idea that she should be president of the United States, that she may be able to convince. So I think there's incentive on both sides to have at least one more debate.
As we mentioned, John, Vice President Harris is campaigning today in North Carolina. That's a state she hopes to flip in this election. Only twice in the last half century has the state gone to a Democrat, but we should note they do have a Democratic governor right now. So could Harris expand the map here? What's it going to take?
Yeah, I mean, if you were to talk about it in terms of color coding of red and blue, you would say that North Carolina is light pink. It is definitely a Republican-leaning state, but typically one that the Republican presidential candidate wins by a very narrow margin. And there are, huge population shifts. What we saw between the last election and this election is the census adding one electoral vote to North Carolina, which is reflective of new people coming into the state. Many of those new people coming into North Carolina are Democrats or Democratic leaning. So we're looking at a state that's going to be very tightly contested. Democrats, often put a big amount of energy and money and time into North Carolina and lose, and every once in a while they win. So continue to see Harris there for the rest of the year.
John, before we let you go, let's talk about yesterday. There was the 9/11 remembrance in Lower Manhattan. We saw President Biden, Vice President Harris, former President Trump, Senator J.D. Vance, but also in attendance with former President Trump was a far-right activist who's previously pushed a false narrative about the attacks. We have some reporting on NBCnews.com about this. What should we know?
Yeah, Laura Loomer is somebody who is, a conspiracy theorist and a huge Trump supporter, who has increasingly been spending time with him and been in his ear. We saw, obviously, she was at this 9/11 remembrance. She is somebody who has questioned whether 9/11 was, quote unquote, an inside job. Somebody who believes or thinks it's possible the United States government was involved in this. That is obviously unfounded, baseless, dangerous. Use the adjective you want. And I'm certain there are many people who lost loved ones on September 11th who are disgusted by her presence there.
All right, John, thank you so much for your reporting here.
One of the major headlines from Tuesday's debate, that bizarre claim about Haitian immigrants in Ohio, a claim that's been amplified by former President Trump and Senator J.D. Vance. The running mates are accusing immigrants of eating animals in Springfield, but the city manager says that is not true. NBC News Washington correspondent Michelle Sindor has the details.
Let's have a good debate.
See you. Have fun.
Thank you.
Growing fallout over one of the most talked about moments of the debate.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats.
Former President Trump spreading unfounded claims that members of the growing Haitian population in Springfield, Ohio, are abusing pets. City officials say there's no evidence of that. Mr. Trump's running mate, Senator J.D. Vance, first spread the baseless accusations on social media earlier this week. When I questioned him about it in the debate spin room, he doubled down.
Vance, what do you say to Haitian Americans and Haitian immigrants who say spreading false claims about them put their lives at risk?
Well, I don't think that no one has spread false claims. What they've said is that a small migrant community has caused a lot of problems.
Springfield city manager said there's no evidence that immigrants are eating animals.
That just means the city manager, I think, isn't fully in touch with what's going on the ground there.
City officials say the rumors may have begun with an unrelated case in another part of Ohio, where a U.S. citizen was arrested for a gruesome incident involving a cat.
Do you understand?
On the ground in Springfield, we found deep tensions.
It's just to me discrimination and xenophobia and bigotry and racism.
Viles Dorseville runs a community center for Haitians.
They just believe that their words have no impact, and it's not true. So immigrants in Springfield, especially Haitians, they're also concerned for their lives and the lives of their kids.
In the last few years, officials say as many as 15,000 Haitians legally in the U.S. have moved to the city, which had about 60,000 residents before. City leaders had advertised newly created manufacturing jobs and Springfield's affordability. But some, like Bill Monaghan, say Springfield suffered from the change.
Oh, it's been disastrous.
What's your response to Haitian immigrants who say they're coming here to revitalize
Springfield.
That's not what's happening for Springfield. I mean, it might happen for them. It might happen for the, the landlords that are enriching themselves, the city manager who's trying to pad his budget.
In a city meeting, the parents of 11-year-old Aiden Clark spoke. Aiden was killed in a school bus crash last year. After a jury found a Haitian immigrant guilty of vehicular homicide, tensions escalated.
I said to Aiden that I would try to make a difference in his honor. This is it.
They're urging politicians and others to stop using their son's death to spread hate.
You know that one of the worst feelings in the world is to not be able to protect your child. Even worse, we can't even protect his memory when he's gone. Please stop the hate.
Yamiche Sendor, NBC News, Springfield, Ohio.
Well, celebrities are just like us, sort of, right? One thing we all have in common is our civic duty to vote in presidential elections. But if you have, say, 283 million followers on Instagram, that might just have some influence on who your fans vote for, or at the very least, get people more politically involved.
Breaking news.
She endorsed Kamala tonight.
Just moments after the debate, it was the Instagram post that ricocheted across the internet and social media.
Taylor Swift endorsed Madam VP Kamala Harris.
Pop megastar Taylor Swift telling her 283 million followers that after seeing artificial intelligence of her falsely endorsing Donald Trump, she felt the need to be transparent.
I'm sad that I didn't 2 years ago, but I can't change that.
Swift, who in this Netflix documentary agonized over not engaging in the 2016 election, now declares, "I'm voting for Kamala Harris because she fights for the rights and causes I believe need a warrior to champion them," and pushing her fans to a voter registration site.
Let Trumpomania make America great again.
Trump enjoys celebrity endorsements as well. Hulk Hogan and Kid Rock showing their support at the RNC. A recent Harvard study says when it comes to celebrities, evidence indicates that these voices are incredibly powerful, if not for candidate support, for boosting political engagement. An open question with young voters who may be encouraged by Swift.
I'm just following my own truth, and that truth has led me to Barack Obama.
Celebrities can also create momentum, like Oprah's endorsement of Barack Obama over Hillary Clinton, and George Clooney's op-ed encouraging President Biden to leave the race. Taylor Swift, now potentially the most influential childless cat lady of 2024.
Well, there's at least some measurable impact from Swift's post so far. That voter registration site that she pushed to, it received more than 330,000 visitors from that specific link that she created in just over 12 hours.
See what happens and if folks actually turn out to the polls when the election starts.
Yeah.
Much more to come here on Morning News. Now, later this hour, relief for home buyers. Mortgage rates down again for the 6th straight week. More on the trend and what it means if you're looking to buy.
At first, though, it's being called China Week. After the break, we'll take you to Capitol Hill, where lawmakers are looking to crack down on China's growing influence on America's economy. We'll be right back. Welcome back. The federal trial of 3 former Memphis police officers charged in the 2023 beating death of Tyree Nichols began yesterday after a jury was selected. Tadarius Bean, Demetrius Haley, and Justin Smith have pleaded not guilty to all the charges against them, including use of excessive force, failure to intervene, and witness tampering. Prosecutors say the officers took turns beating Nichols after a traffic stop, but a defense attorney for one of the officers says their actions were in line with the police training they received. If convicted, all 3 former officers could face life in prison.
On Capitol Hill, House Republicans are looking to get tough on China. They are spearheading roughly 24 policy bills this week that focus on curbing Beijing's technological and economic influence in a legislative blitz that has been dubbed China Week.
Yeah, as Joe's saying, the bills target a variety of things like alleged economic espionage, trade tax, biosecurity, technology, even electric vehicles.
NBC News international correspondent Janice Mackey-Frayer is in Beijing with more on this. Janice, good morning. So just walk us through some of the key bills that are being pushed this week and what exactly it is they're targeting.
Well, from drones to drugs and a lot in between, most of the China-related bills, there are 28 in total, are Republican-led but draw on bipartisan support. Some of the key measures include Protect America's Innovation and Economic Security from CCP Act. This is the Trump-era China initiative to curb alleged spying. There's the DHS restrictions on Confucius Institutes, which would limit funding on institutions that get funding from China's Communist Party. And the Biosecure Act would restrict contracts, federal contracts, with several Chinese biotech firms, even those that have operations in the U.S., over national security concerns. Measures are being considered this week under the suspension of rules, meaning that in most cases they will be expedited with only 2/3 majority.
What's significant about the timing of all this legislation? And also, do we think it's got a chance of getting passed?
Well, the U.S. views China as a geopolitical rival, so there is no real political consequence to being too tough on China. For the most part, Democrats aren't taking issue with the substance of these China-related bills. It's the timing of this exercise that they're criticizing as a blitz to try to boost and unite Republicans ahead of the election. All of the bills are likely to pass, but they still need to be approved in the Senate, so it isn't clear exactly how many of these tough on China bills will actually be signed into law.
So how is Beijing responding to all this proposed legislation? What could be the impact on U.S.-China relations?
Well, there is the sense here that during a U.S. election season, China is always viewed as the villain. And the Ministry of Foreign Affairs earlier this week commented in saying that the U.S. should, quote, abandon its ideological biases. And it wasn't a coincidence that today the Commerce Ministry here released a big trade report that accuses the U.S. of trade bullying. That said, there has been some diplomatic progress recently. There have been more high-level meetings between U.S. and Chinese officials in recent months. Military communication has just been reopened, and President Biden will have another phone call with China's President Xi Jinping. But there is still a deep chill and a real lack of trust that exists between the two sides on many levels, and that both Republicans and Democrats are going to be trying to bolster their foreign policy credentials ahead of the election. How the U.S. positions itself with China is going to be an easy flashpoint. Joe and Savannah.
Janice, thank you so much.
Coming up, a plea deal for pop star Justin Timberlake 3 months after that DWI arrest. When we come back, what we're learning ahead of his next court hearing.
Plus, dosage dangers. The new warning about popular prescription drugs used to treat ADHD. You're watching Morning News Now.
We're back with new developments in the DWI case against pop star Justin Timberlake. The singer, who originally pleaded not guilty, has agreed to a new plea deal with prosecutors, according to a spokesman for the Suffolk County District Attorney's Office. He's expected to attend a court hearing in person tomorrow on New York's Long Island, but details of that deal are still unclear.
Police arrested the Grammy winner for driving while intoxicated in Sag Harbor in mid-June. He spent one night in jail before he was released.
For more, we are joined by NBC News legal analyst Danny Savalas. Danny, good morning. Always great to have you with us. So Timberlake's attorney has actually repeatedly said that the singer was not drunk, that this case should be dropped. What should we know about this plea deal and what might have changed here from that not guilty plea?
We don't know what exactly he's pleading guilty to. I have an idea. If I were to guess, he's probably going to plead down from DWI to a violation in New York called DWAI. It is not a crime. It's not a misdemeanor. It is only a violation. It carries consequences. But Timberlake's license has already been suspended by virtue of his refusal of the chemical test. And by chemical test, I mean the breathalyzer test. If you do that, and this is common in most states, there's an additional penalty. Sometimes it's even an independent crime, but not in New York. In New York, you lose your license. You're going to get a license suspension. That's already happened in Timberlake's case. And look, for someone like Timberlake, who cares? He can afford an Uber. He probably doesn't need to be personally driving. Other people, like traveling salesmen, people who need their license, that's often in a DWI case the most important thing they care about. They'd rather spend a few nights in jail and keep their license. That's not the case with Timberlake. I expect it might be a DWAI, or a really great outcome might be something like a reckless driving.
Why would prosecutors want to have a deal like this? Is it common in cases like this, or could this be a celebrity thing?
Yes and no. First, his attorney filed motions. We know that, and that's exactly what you do. It's what I do in DWI cases. You file any motion you can to get it before a judge and try to throw out or suppress evidence, because evidence suppression in a DWI case is everything. If you can suppress anything that came from the car stop, that's the case. So in this particular case, I think that plea bargaining in DWI cases, normally it varies from state to state, but you have to plead guilty to something that the allegations match. In other words, if he gets a reckless driving, there are rules. The DA has to be able to say in good faith, yeah, this fits reckless driving, and my evidence in the DWI case has problems. You can't just expect to plead something down if the evidence is fantastic against you. And in addition, in this case, Timberlake did refuse the breathalyzer. That's usually a factor that DAs make them not very interested in plea bargaining. So this is probably some really good defense lawyering that went on behind the scenes.
What's going to happen in court tomorrow, and where does this go from there?
If he's pleading guilty to a violation, and I expect it's going to be some form of a violation and not a crime, then the consequences will be much less severe. In theory, there's the potential for jail time. In all likelihood, that will not happen. We're talking about a maximum of days, maybe 2 weeks. I don't expect that to happen. He will probably, even though we don't know what the charge is yet, we're probably looking at a violation plea. Fantastic outcome. And in a crazy way, Timberlake's refusal of the breathalyzer may have been a good strategic move, because he will never have an actual BAC reading on record. And forever, he can always claim, I swear I wasn't drunk, and there's no scientific evidence to dispute that. For his reputation, not so much for his criminal record, more for his reputation.
Is this the kind of thing where community service might come into play at all, or no?
Are you thinking he might be on the side of the highway in an orange vest picking up trash?
Speaking to children about the issues or something like that.
It's theoretic, not with a traffic violation. If that's what he pleads guilty to, we're likely not to see him picking up trash on the side of the road.
All right.
Danny Savalos, thank you as always.
This morning, doctors are issuing a new warning to patients who are prescribed stimulant drugs like Adderall and Vyvanse. This comes from a new study published in the American Journal of Psychiatry. It found that taking high doses of these drugs, which contain amphetamine, could put people at a much higher risk of developing psychosis or mania.
In fact, one estimate shows that nearly a third of patients are prescribed dosages that may increase their risk of developing these psychotic symptoms.
NBC News medical fellow Dr. Akshay Sayal joins us now to explain what this study found. Dr. Sayal, good to have you with us. So walk us through which drugs were tested in this study and just how much of a risk doctors found they could pose to patients.
Good morning, guys. Yeah, so the link here between psychosis and mania and amphetamine stimulants isn't new. That's something that we've known for a while. But guys, what is new, just as of a few hours ago, is that we're sort of getting some information about what doses are required to sort of increase your risk here of developing those symptoms like psychosis or mania. And you can see here what we found is that, if you take more than these doses on the screen, so more than 40 milligrams of Adderall, more than 100 milligrams of Vyvanse, or 30 milligrams there of dexedrine, you have a 5.3 greater likelihood of developing psychosis. And that's what the authors considered here a high dose. There's also an increased level of risk for those taking a medium dose, which is, sort of 20 to 40 milligrams of Adderall, about 50 to 100 of Vyvanse. So if you are somebody who's taking those doses, you just want to be a little bit more cautious, especially if you have a family history of somebody in the family who's developed, psychosis or mania. You really want to be careful about how much Adderall or how much Vyvanse you're taking there, guys.
What is it about amphetamines that increases the risk for these severe mental health disorders? And is there anybody in particular who's more at risk?
So we're still learning that, Savannah, but our sort of best guess here is that it's, the neurotransmitter dopamine is what's involved. And so for those who don't know, dopamine is, it's the chemical we often associate with our reward center or pleasure center. It's involved in mood and attention and movement. But guys, in psychosis, we actually think dopamine is implicated because it's found in high levels. And so these amphetamine drugs can actually increase the level of dopamine in the brain. And if you get too much of it, that's what we sort of think is driving the association here, Savannah, but we're still really figuring out the exact reason why.
So we had a separate recent study that found stimulant use in U.S. adults skyrocketing in the last few years, up 30% for people between 20 to 39 years old. At the same time, doctors say developing psychosis or a similar disorder is quite rare. So just how much should this study concern folks?
Yeah, it's a good point, Joe. And so the overall risk is rare. It's about less than 1 in 1,000. But for those who are taking these drugs, and we're all in that age group. I'm sure we all here know people who are taking that, especially with, the COVID pandemic and telehealth and people sort of getting easier access. But guys, I think what people should really know is that if you do have a family history, if you do have, people in the family who've developed schizophrenia or bipolar disorder or psychosis, you really, really want to be careful about taking those higher medium doses. Because guys, I think a lot of people don't sort of get a lot of benefit benefit if you start taking more and more stimulants. It's not really clear if it's doing much benefit for you, but it is increasing your risk. So it's really all about finding that balance and making sure you get the benefit from the drugs without avoiding some of that risk, guys.
For someone who's prescribed this, they're hearing this right now, they're thinking, oh, is my dosage too high? What could this mean? What should you do if you take one of these and you're concerned about your dosage?
Yeah, so it's I would say make sure you actually have a diagnosis or a reason for taking this. I think a lot of us know people who've gotten a hold of these drugs through non-prescription means, and so making sure you actually have an indication or a reason to be on it. And then Savannah, I would just I would tell people to get in with their doctor and making sure that that dose is sort of at that balance we just talked about, where it's making sure that you're getting the benefit with minimizing the risks and the side effects, and it's going to require some tinkering, playing with the doses a little bit, maybe trying Adderall, maybe trying Vyvanse, sort of figuring out which one's best for you. But as long as you're not taking that high dose for too long, you should be okay, guys. Again, the risk is very rare here.
All right, Dr. Akshay Sayal, good to have you with us. Thank you so much. Coming up, some welcome news for home buyers. Mortgage rates trending down for the 6th week in a row. We're going to break down the numbers and what that could mean for the market.
And it turns out catfishing, that's not just on dating apps. A new survey shows managers and prospective employees are lying in job interviews. We're going to tell you more on why and how to spot a career catfish before you take the job. This is Morning News Now. We're back with some economic news for you this morning and what could be a welcome relief for home buyers or those looking to refinance their mortgages.
A new survey by the Mortgage Bankers Association found that mortgage rates declined last week for a 6th straight week. The average rate for a 30-year mortgage dropped to 6.29%. That's its lowest level since February of 2023.
Here to help us understand is Rick Newman. He's a senior columnist for Yahoo Finance. Rick, good morning. Thanks so much for joining us. So just help us understand why rates have been on this downward trajectory lately.
Mortgage rates basically follow market interest rates, and interest rates have been falling for a couple of reasons. Number one is there's anticipation that the Federal Reserve is going to start cutting short-term interest rates basically next week, and that it will continue cutting at a gradual pace. But mortgage rates also follow the 10-year Treasury, which sets borrowing rates for most consumer loans, and that has simply been coming down lately. So we are in a falling interest rate environment, but this is not likely to happen fast. If we're going to see mortgage rates and other interest rates continue to decline, it's probably going to be slow, but obviously consumers and home buyers, potential home buyers, would rather have rates falling than rising, and they seem to be going in the right direction for now.
You say slow. How slow could we be talking about here when it comes to mortgage rates going down?
Well, think about it this way. The Federal Reserve is probably going to start cutting interest rates by 1/4 percentage point. That's basically the smallest rate cut that you can get. And they're in no hurry because the Federal Reserve looks at the economy. They would only be cutting rates faster or by more if they thought we were heading into a recession or we're already in a recession. We're not. We're not in a recession. And the Fed just wants to start loosening up the economy a little bit because the job market is getting a little bit slower. So if you're a home buyer, this is not what people want to hear, but you just need to be patient in terms of finding a home that you feel you can afford. And at the same time, although borrowing is going to get cheaper, we still have other problems in the housing market. We don't have enough homes. There's just not enough supply of homes. And we've still got a lot of homeowners who are able to refinance at super low, epically low, historically low interest rates, even below 3% a couple of years ago. And if you own a home and your cost of borrowing is so cheap, you're really reluctant to sell that house. So it's hard to get new homes on the market. This is going to unwind over time. It's just going to be a while.
So you talk about if you're interested in buying a home, be patient. What if you do own a home and you want to refinance that mortgage? Should you also be waiting that out a little longer?
Well, most people who have mortgages were able to refinance when rates got as low as, I think they went as low as like 2.8% a couple of years ago. I mean, that was unbelievable. So if you're somebody who bought a home within the last couple of years, yeah, maybe you are in a position to refinance, but you don't necessarily want to refinance just because interest rates drop by a little bit, because there are transaction costs. So you have to do the math. You have to look at what your payment is now. estimate what your payment would be under a lower rate. You have to factor in whatever the transaction costs are, figure out what your break-even point might be. If you're going to break even in 2 years, let's say, or perhaps less than 2 years, and you're pretty sure you're going to be in your house, yeah, do it. But as a kind of a rule of thumb, I mean, you have to be able to refinance at least 1 percentage point lower than your original mortgage for that to be worth it. And it'd be better if you were able to get a rate 2 percentage points lower or even more than that to really make it worth your while to refinance.
Rick, thank you so much. Really interesting, useful stuff there.
Staying on your wallet, the Boeing marathon continues. This morning, factory workers are preparing to vote on new contracts ahead of a looming strike.
CNBC's Savannah Hanau has those details and some other money headlines for us. Hey, Savannah, good morning.
Hey, Savannah. Hey, Joe. Good morning. Yeah, the saga for Boeing really does continue. Now, Boeing's factory workers are voting today on whether to reject a new contract and go on strike tomorrow. The machinist union represents more than 30,000 of Boeing's aircraft assembly workers, most in the Seattle area. Now, a strike wouldn't directly affect airline passengers, but it would be another major blow to Boeing's reputation, halting production of the 737 MAX, 777, and 767 cargo plane. Disney announcing a special offer for Disney Plus from today through September 27th. New and returning customers can get a basic plan with ads for $1.99 a month for 3 months. Now, that tier is currently $8 a month. However, the deal will auto-renew at full price unless you cancel, and the basic plan is about to get more expensive, going up to $10 a month starting October 17th. And the average consumer is expected to buy more during the holidays this year. Deloitte is out with its first holiday forecast today, projecting retail sales to increase by as much as 3.3%. That's about $1.6 trillion. That's actually down from growth of more than 4% last year. Sales are expected to return to pre-pandemic levels, right in line with trends over the past decade. Now, a shorter season this year, which is only 27 days between Thanksgiving and Christmas, is pushing retailers to launch promotions earlier. Guys, I can't believe we're already talking about holiday shopping. It's still summer. It's still summer.
I'm easing into the fall mindset. I was anti
I'm
for a
still
while.
in the summer mindset, let me tell you.
Halloween decorations have been out for 2 months. All right.
All the pumpkins. Savannah, thank you so much.
All right, you might be familiar with the social term catfishing. It's usually when people take on a fake persona online to attract romantic connections. But now it's taking on a new life at the office.
Yeah, though there's obviously no hidden camera crew to catch the culprits in action. A recent survey found 80% of respondents admitted to lying in a job interview. But they're not the only ones. Hiring managers have also fessed up to kind of fudging the truth with applicants.
For more, let's bring in mindset coach and speaker Laura Gassner-Otting. She is also the author of Wall Street Journal bestseller Wonder Hell. That is a great title for a book right there. Laura, good to have you with us. So we know catfishing in a professional setting seems strange off the bat because you really can't fake things like skills or a company's work culture, at least not for very long, as opposed to dating when usually you're just faking a few pictures. So how exactly are folks pulling this off?
Well, you'd be surprised at how often it happens. A lot of times it happens because we take these old job descriptions that we've had from before, even when our culture has shifted, and we just kind of slap on the new requirements for it. So organizations are putting out these job descriptions that are not relevant or no longer actually reflective of who they are. Some of that's laziness, and some of that's just because they have a lot of turnover and they can't actually tell you who they are and what their culture's like. And then on the job seeker side, it's because we're told to use terms like proven leader and results driven, and we're told to embellish what we have so we can get our foot in the door for the resume. But at the end of the day, both with organizations and with job seekers, the truth will out. And we're all sort of left, you know, Warren Buffett likes to say, when the water goes out, the tide goes out, we see who's not wearing their pants. And at the end of the day, that's what we all find out.
And the other thing now, this kind of new addition to the conversation is AI, right? You talk about some of those terms, proven leader, things like that. I can imagine when you use AI, it probably ups that even more and makes this kind of complicated. Nearly 1 in 4 Gen Zers actually have said that they've used ChatGPT to try to land jobs to help them with those resumes, those cover letters. What are some ways that companies are trying to weed out AI-generated applications?
So I want to say first that I think it's smart to use AI to maybe brainstorm to get some ideas, but then you have to take the resume and look at it and figure out if it actually makes sense. So if you're an employer, you're looking at the resume and you're saying, do they say proven leader every single time? Do they say results driven every single time? Do they overuse these terms? Second, maybe look at the timeline. So if they say they have 15 years of experience here, but then they've only been in a job market for, they've had jobs for 6 years, that doesn't actually line up. So we see these inconsistencies, we see over perfection, we see overuse of terms that may or may not be relevant to them, to the job they're looking for, to the jobs that they've had. So when you start to see these inconsistencies, if it doesn't look right, if it doesn't smell right, it's probably not right. And the best thing that we can do as employers is to actually look through it as a human being, to ask follow-up questions, to go through, and when somebody gives us an answer, we actually ask how they did it and why they did it, not just what they did. And when we get underneath the covers of sort of what they've been doing and where they've been, we actually get to figure out if what's on the resume is real, and if the person who's presenting themselves to us in the interview is the person who's going to show up every single day for the job, because interviews and resumes are never indicative of reality.
So if you're looking for a job and you want to do this confidently, what do you do to feel like you don't have to lie? And we only have like 30 seconds here, so just give us your top tips.
Absolutely. What you do is you figure out, what have I done? What have I accomplished? Where have I done it? And then you present with that. What kinds of transformation, what kind of changes I made? And at the end of the day, the organization that's right for you will be the organization that's right for you. So if you try to push forward to a place you don't belong, it's not going to work out, and that's going to be damaging to you. So stay in what makes sense and grow stepwise instead of trying to leap into something that's going to be more damaging in the end.
Very good. Start that process now. Laura Gassner-Otting, great to have you with us. Great topic. Thanks for joining us.
Great to see you again.
Coming up, it is music's wildest night.
When we come back, we're going to have the most memorable moments from the 40th MTV Video Music Awards, the VMAs. This is Morning News Now. We are back with a full rundown of the 40th MTV Video Music Awards, which took New York by storm last night. Eminem kicked off the festivities with a performance of his hit Houdini, complete with that classic Slim Shady bleach blonde wig. The rapper then donned a black baseball cap before performing Somebody Save Me with a virtual feature from Jelly Roll. And it wouldn't be a proper awards show without Taylor Swift making history again. Swift took home 7 Moon Men, which brings her career total to 30. That ties her with Beyonce for most awards in VMA history, and Swift actually surpassed Queen Bee for the most ever won by a solo artist. I'm guessing Destiny's Child has something to do with that. Swift clinched Artist of the Year and Best Pop. Boyfriend Travis Kelce even got a heartfelt shout out in her acceptance speech for Video of the Year. Song of the Year went to Sabrina Carpenter for Espresso after she performed the hit along with Please, Please, Please and Taste of her newest album, Short and Sweet. And Katy Perry was honored with the Michael Jackson Video Vanguard Award, like a Lifetime Achievement Award. After she was introduced by her husband, Orlando Bloom, Perry gave an epic career-spanning performance, including classics like California Girls and Firework. To her newest release, Lifetime, she even gave us a sneak peek at her new collab with Doechii. That one's set to release tomorrow. A lot going on. That is still one of the biggest events in music.
It was an epic show. I watched as much as I could before I had to go to bed, and it was so much fun. Katie's performance was awesome. Yeah. Thank you, Joe. Well, finally, this hour, we want to bring you the inspiring story of the smallest sculptures in the world. You actually need a microscope to see them. NBC News international correspondent Josh Letterman spoke to the English artist who is autistic about how he uses his art to show other people with autism that they can achieve their biggest dreams.
Just because you can't see something doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Barely visible to the naked eye, these are the smallest sculptures on Earth, made by artist Willard Wiggin, who can see a whole world in the eye of a needle.
I can sculpt the size of a human blood cell, so that's pretty small.
His tools are so tiny, he paints with an acupuncture needle with an eyelash glued to the end. The work so delicate, he has to slow his breathing, working in between the heartbeats.
As soon as my heart stops, that's when I move.
Do you enjoy the process of making one of these?
No. When you're working through that microscope, things keep going wrong.
If this is so frustrating to do, why do you keep doing it?
I do it because I can, and I do it because the joy that it gives people.
Brilliant. The joy comes here when Willard gets to see the look on people's faces as they see what's in the microscope.
you would spend ages looking at it because it's so incredible and it's just so amazing.
It's a lesson in perseverance Willard learned as a child with undiagnosed autism.
One of the teachers used to take me around the school and tell all the kids that I was the consequence of failure, so I stopped speaking. My hands became my voice.
Today, Willard is on a mission to show what people with autism can do.
What would be your message to kids growing up with autism feeling different?
Never allow anybody to tell you you cannot become what you are going to become.
In other words, dream big and never let anyone make you feel small. Josh Letterman, NBC News.
He does not enjoy the process. We get to enjoy the result. I like that.
Yeah, it's just amazing. Between heartbeats, he has to move. Incredible.
That's going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now.
Stay with us, though. The news continues right now. Good morning. Glad to have you with us. I'm Savannah Sellers.
I'm Joe Fryer. Right now on Morning News Now, we are tracking Francine, now a tropical storm that's slowly making its way up the Mississippi River. In its wake, widespread flooding throughout parts of the South, leaving hundreds of thousands across Louisiana without power this morning. We're on the ground in just a moment. Well, out west, crews battling wildfires in California and Nevada amid a devastating heat wave. Also this morning, a solemn show of unity at the feet of tragedy. Vice President Harris and former President Trump shaking hands at Ground Zero yesterday came on the heels of that fiery debate that drew the eyes now of more than 65 million people on Tuesday. We're going to bring you the latest on whether we can expect a rematch as both candidates return to the campaign trail less than 8 weeks to Election Day. Plus, keeping the faith, rock and roll icon John Bon Jovi being hailed as a hero. This life-changing moment caught on camera, showing the singer in the right place at the right time, coming to the aid of this woman on a Nashville bridge. And this morning, history being made in the final frontier. SpaceX serving up another giant leap for mankind with the first ever private, all-civilian spacewalk. Can't wait to share that story with you. So much going on up there right now. A lot down here as well. We're going to begin this hour with Francine. The storm slammed into the Louisiana coastline as a powerful Category 2 hurricane yesterday afternoon.
Yeah, weakened into a tropical storm overnight, although many are still feeling the effects this morning. Hundreds of thousands are without power amid the threat of life-threatening storm surges and widespread flooding. Here's NBC News Now anchor Tom Yamas from New Orleans with the latest on the ground there.
This morning, many parts of southern Louisiana dealing with flooding. Here in Kenner, you can see how high the water is. The good news is that it is starting to recede, but this is a major intersection and one of the ways into one of New Orleans' largest hospitals. Again, the good news, the water is receding, but again, still a dangerous situation here. Officials say 2 of the major pumps in this area failed, but there was no way the system could handle all this water. Hurricane Francine was a major rainmaker, and too much rain fell too fast.
This morning, residents in New Orleans surveying the damage after now Tropical Storm Francine slammed into New Orleans overnight as a fast-moving Category 2 hurricane. The Big Easy taking a direct hit from powerful winds up to 100 miles per hour, ripping off roofs and knocking out power.
This is a shelter-in-place storm.
Francine also pounding New Orleans and nearby coastal communities with more than 8 inches of rain, floodwaters cutting off parts of the city.
Officer, they have a truck right here.
NBC New Orleans affiliate WDSU live on the air when a driver drove right into a flooded overpass and started to sink.
It seems like one person is in that vehicle.
A Good Samaritan springing into action to save his life.
They're walking that guy back that way, I guess, to check on him to make sure he's good.
A storm surge of up to 4 feet flooding major highways.
The rain is endless, the wind is as strong as it's been, and over here the storm surge from Lake Pontchartrain, the waves now crashing over the seawall.
In New Orleans' Jefferson Parish, residents told to limit water usage.
What we're seeing is our sewer system being inundated with groundwater and stormwater, and it's being overwhelmed.
The National Guard now deployed into communities.
We've got search and rescue boats, we've got high water vehicles, we've got soldiers that will react once the storm lifts.
But even the guardsmen not immune to Francine's impact. One of its trucks skidding off a rain-slicked road. Luckily, no one was hurt. The storm setting off tornado warnings across Louisiana and southern Mississippi.
I'm just praying and asking the Lord to protect us.
And all all flights in and out of the Many of the people here were just starting to get their insurance payouts from Hurricane Ida, which was in 2021. Now they're dealing with all this water and some severe property damage to different neighborhoods. So they're going to have to deal with that. Just under 300,000 customers right now at last check without power. You may see the power, the traffic lights flickering there in the back. It's breezy today, which is some good news for these people, but not to have power, not to have AC in the summertime can be absolutely unbearable in New Orleans. Reporting from Kenner, Tom Yamas, back to you.
All right, Tom, thank you.
For more, we're joined now by Captain Brendan Mathern. He's the Public Information Officer with the Lafourche Parish Sheriff's Office. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, Captain. We know you're busy. We've read deputies already had to rescue more than 24 people because of rising waters. Talk to us about that and just what's happening in your area right now.
Yeah, we got that call around 7:30 last night. It was in the northern portion of Lafourche Parish, which really took a direct hit from this storm right above Terrebonne Parish, where the hurricane made landfall. And as the storm, the rain and wind blew into northern Lafourche Parish, in fact, this area that we had to perform the rescue is right at the northern parish line, bordering Assumption Parish. And ultimately, 26 people had to be rescued from that area as the waters were starting to rise. And this was not a case of flooding from a body of water. This was just an inundation of rainfall. We believe that area had somewhere upwards of 10 inches of rain in a 2-hour span, and just no pumping system that we have can handle that amount of rainfall.
Louisiana is no stranger to big storms, but how does this one compare to others you've experienced in the past? And also, what are the biggest problems you're now facing?
Well, we've compared this particular storm to many. Specifically in 2020, Zeta was a Category 2 that came in and out fairly quickly, and a lot of people have compared it to that as far as the damage, seeing, mostly wind damage, a little bit of flooding. We have about 12 homes reported to be flooded, but the most recent storm that we had was Hurricane Ida 3 years ago, and this one just really doesn't compare to that. We still have areas that are still showing damage from Ida 3 years ago, and ultimately we're still really in that recovery process. Many of our government buildings are still unoccupied. We have some that have just finished repairs from Ida 3 years ago. Thankfully, this storm has not brought a ton of damage that we can't come back from it. Thankfully, like I said, it's mostly been a rain event. While there has been some wind damage, it hasn't been as widespread as we saw with Ida.
But that is a good reminder that the impact of these storms can last for years after the media has left and everyone's sort of moved on. With this one right now, you've got flooded roads, you've got down power lines. What's your main message to people in the area this morning?
Well, we want people to remain put, especially we have a curfew in place until 10 a.m. And we're just asking that even after the curfew is lifted, if people could just find a place to stay. Anytime that you get out on the road and the more people that's on the road is going to hinder restoration efforts. We have about 90% of our parish that's without power. And if we want to get the parish power restored, we're going to need cooperation from residents. Thankfully, though, our residents have answered that call so far. We've had a curfew in place since noon yesterday, and they have continued to stay home and stay put. And it's allowed our deputies to get out there and do assessments and rescue people and respond to emergencies as necessary.
Good to hear that people are heeding that advice. Captain Brendan Mathern with the Lafourche Parish Sheriff's Office. Continue to stay safe. Thanks for joining us this morning.
For more on what to expect this morning as Tropical Storm Francine moves further inland, let's take a look at your morning news now weather.
Meteorologist Angie Lastman's tracking that along with everything else going on around the country. Angie, good morning.
Morning, guys. We actually have an update from the National Hurricane Center. This has been downgraded now to Tropical Depression Francine. Winds coming in now at 35 miles per hour. So still, either way, the impacts have not changed, even though we are seeing that significant weakening, and the trend will continue. We'll likely see this system become post-tropical here in the short term, but either way, now moving northeast at 12 miles per per hour. The heaviest of the rain centered across Mississippi, specifically just north of Jackson, likely seeing some flooding occurring in that region. We've also got some of these bands circulating on in across parts of the panhandle of Florida and southern Alabama. That's leaving us with all the kind of potential to see some of those tornadoes spin up with those bands working on in. The flooding concern, it's pretty expansive. We see 14 million people included in this. Notice Jackson right in kind of the bullseye of where that heaviest rain is, dealing with the flash flood warnings as well as along parts of the panhandle of Florida. But we're going to likely see a lot more folks dealing with the flooding concerns here as the day goes on. The system is going to work to the north, likely again weakening, but still plenty of rain to come with it. We'll see rainfall totals anywhere from 3 to 5 inches, with a couple of spots likely reaching up to 6 inches. So the considerable flooding will be likely across this region, at least for the next day or so. That tornado risk I mentioned, it'll be isolated as far as the tornadoes are concerned, but it does stretch from Panama City to Birmingham, and it goes through this afternoon. So a heads up for folks in that region. We'll also look for some more of these damaging winds. I think the peak wind gust, maybe 50, maybe 60 miles per hour, but not much more than that. So a couple of spots that could still see some downed trees and some power outages as the system lifts to the north. Otherwise, I think we'll start to see the winds dying down. Meanwhile, out west, we've got a couple of spots to talk about when it comes to the fire risk. We do have the elevated risk for fire, with the weather kind of giving us all those ingredients we need for fire to rapidly spread. We know what kind of problem it's caused across parts of Southern California over the past couple of days. Today, we've got most of those red flag warnings centered across the Great Basin and into the plains. 5 million people. It does include Denver. It stretches up to Bismarck. We've got Moab and Pueblo included in there as well. The low humidity, the gusty winds, all of that is going to lead to, conditions where fire can spread very quickly. So heads up for folks there. We've got warm temperatures, though, across the northern tier of the country, at least for most of the eastern half of the northern tier of the country. 88 in Omaha today, 12 degrees above normal in Minneapolis, so we're hitting 86 for the high. Doesn't feel like fall in Cincinnati either, 88. And we keep these kind of warmer than normal trends going across this region here all the way into your Friday. 82 in New York, not bad. We'll hit those low 80s here as we get into the weekend and beyond. Temperatures kind of moderate out for typical temperatures this time of year.
93 in Rapid City in
Yeah.
mid-September.
Summer-like feel for sure.
My goodness. All right. Angie, thank you so much. Let's stay on the West Coast. That intense heat and dry conditions, they continue to fuel multiple wildfires, destroying homes and threatening lives in both California and Nevada. NBC News correspondent Dana Griffin is in Wrightwood, California, with more on the damage out west. Dana, good morning.
Joe, good morning to you. Yes, several homes here have been destroyed. Firefighters are working desperately to contain the flames that at one point ripped through this community. You can see behind me the destruction of property. So many people barely managed to make it out alive. In the mountains of Southern California, crews are desperately fighting to save lives and homes from 3 major wildfires burning in steep terrain. The Bridge Fire, now the state's largest active blaze, burning nearly 50,000 acres and forcing dramatic evacuations and rescues. Like a fire truck helping this barefoot woman after she was surrounded by a wall of flames. Neighbors also joining the effort to save their community.
When you can feel the heat and you hear everything cracking, it's a different feeling.
The Bridge Fire is just one of several large blazes burning across the West, sending smoke drifting for hundreds of miles. The fire burned vehicles to their frame. Firefighters working hard to save as many homes as possible, sparing these here, but just across the way, their neighbors weren't so lucky. While nearby residents returned to survey their homes.
It's just so hard to wrap your head around something like this that I really haven't accepted it yet.
Meanwhile, in San Bernardino County, officials say the line fire appears to be a case of arson, announcing the arrest of 34-year-old Justin Halstenberg. Investigators now looking into whether he may be responsible for others.
I'm angry, upset, because it was also not necessary to put a lot of these people out of their homes.
A much-needed cool-down is expected over the next several days, and those heavy rains from the past 2 winters have actually added to the amount of fuel in these mountain communities, which is helping to fuel this fire. And, Joe, we are only midway through our traditional fire season.
Yeah, still
Joe?
several weeks to go. All right, Dana, thank you so much.
Now let's get to the race for the White House, as both Vice President Harris and former President Trump are back on the campaign trail today. The vice president is holding events today in North Carolina, while Mr. Trump will be in Arizona in each side's first big event since Tuesday's dramatic debate. It remains unclear this morning whether another debate will be held before the election. NBC News Chief White House correspondent Peter Alexander joins us with the latest here. Hey, Peter, good morning.
Savannah, good morning to you. The Harris campaign this morning says that the vice president is now entering what it calls a more aggressive phase of her campaign, looking to capitalize on her debate performance this week. With both Harris and former President Trump, as you noted, returning to the trail today, it's still not clear exactly what impact their debate may have on this race, but it was seen by a massive audience. More than 67 million people, according to Nielsen, tuned in to watch it. Vice President Harris and former President Trump returning to the trail today, traveling to critical battleground states on opposite ends of the country. For Harris, North Carolina, Trump stumping in Arizona. After their contentious debate, the pair putting differences aside to come together with a memorial marking the 23rd anniversary of September 11th. But it comes as Trump is facing controversy over connections to conspiracy theories. Traveling with him recently, Laura Loomer, a conspiracy theorist who last year insisted 9/11 was an inside job. Earlier this week, Loomer sharing a racist post about Harris, who's the child of Jamaican and Indian immigrants, suggesting if Harris wins, the White House will smell like curry, among other things. When asked for comment, the Trump campaign did not address Loomer, simply saying his participation in the 9/11 ceremony was not about anyone other than the souls who are no longer with us. And the Republican governor of Ohio, a Trump ally, is pushing back on baseless conspiracy theories amplified by Trump in the debate about immigrants.
They're eating the pets.
Governor Mike DeWine saying he trusts city officials.
They have no evidence of that at all.
Urging Trump to stay focused on issues like the economy and protecting the border.
And I think the more he can stick to those issues, I think the better off that he is going to be as he goes forward.
Following Tuesday's fierce face-off,
we're still the underdogs in this race. It's tight.
The Harris campaign is calling for another debate, but Trump, who previously insisted on multiple debates, is now non-committal.
You know, when you win, you don't really necessarily have to do it a second time.
Harris is hoping to capitalize on her strong debate performance, even as some undecided voters say they want to know more about her plans, including how she'd address immigration and the economy.
There's got to be somebody that genuinely cares about us and has real policies and real ideas that are realistic.
And as for Taylor Swift's endorsement of Harris earlier this week, the superstar's support may already be fueling voter registration, with more than 337,000 people clicking her link and going to vote.gov. Trump's running mate, J.D. Vance, is downplaying the impact, telling Fox News he does not think that most Americans are going to be influenced by Swift, who he said is, quote, disconnected from the problems of most Americans. Savannah and Joe.
All right, Peter, thank you so much. We've got much more to come on this hour of Morning News Now, including the latest out of the occupied West Bank, where at least 8 Palestinians were reportedly killed after a new round of Israeli airstrikes. How the IDF is now defending the attack.
But first, after the break, some good news for your wallet this morning. Inflation now at a 3-year low. So what does that mean for interest rates? We're going to dig into the new data next.
We are back with some economic news, and markets are digesting new data that showed inflation falling to a 3-year low in August.
Still, stocks initially dipped on Wednesday after core inflation, that includes food and energy prices, saw a slight uptick on the month. Wall Street did later rally to close the day higher.
All right, so we've got Christine Romans here, NBC News senior business correspondent, to help us, because if you didn't have enough economic terms in your head now, you have to think about inflation and then also core inflation.
Right.
Walk us through if this is something that we should be concerned about.
Well, you know, inflation is such a funny number. It got up to 9.1%. That's when it felt really, really bad. And now 2.5%. That's getting back to something more normal. But inflation is a lot of different numbers. So when you look inside of here, you can see that housing was a problem, and that continues to be the big driver of inflation. We saw egg prices rise from July to August by 5%. That's because there's some cases of bird flu. That often happens there. But overall, really, food prices aren't really moving up very much, and used car prices are falling. And energy prices, this is the real feel indicator for so many families. If you're filling up at the gas station, you know that
It's down about 50 cents since last year. And experts tell me they're expecting gas prices by Thanksgiving probably to be below $3 a gallon nationwide. Wow. So that is a bit of relief for the American budget.
Also going down, interest rates expected to go down even more. So what does this mean if you have a mortgage or if you're looking to buy a home?
So mortgage rates yesterday down to 6.11%. That's quite good. That's 2 points lower than it was this time last year, the high last year. So that's a dramatic improvement. And a lot of people are telling me they expect to see a 5 at the front of that number, maybe by the end of the year, because the Fed's going to start cutting interest rates. So for people who are looking to refinance a home loan or looking to buy, things are getting a little bit better, more buying power there.
It seems like the picture is coming together for lots of positive economic news, lots of good news for your wallet. Inflation low, mortgage gets down. Is there a way that we can be taking advantage of all this good news?
So your purchasing power generally is increasing. Wages have been rising faster than inflation for 17 months now. Gas prices are coming down. Mortgage rates are coming down. I would say as we head into this new phase when the Fed's going to start cutting interest rates, perfect time to start paying off debt. Credit card interest rates are very, very high. As interest rates start to decline, call your credit card company and say, I would like the lowest rate possible, especially if you are carrying credit card debt. It is really dangerous and hard to enjoy increased purchasing power in your household if you've got all this credit card debt. So as we head into this new phase where the Fed's going to start cutting interest rates and maybe the economy starts to slow a little bit, perfect time to get that financial house in order.
Amid all of this, we've been talking a lot about fast food deals.
Yes.
I think we've done a story on every one of them.
Yes.
Are we still seeing them?
I am NBC News chief fast food correspondent.
It's so true.
And
really.
I'm telling you that this morning McDonald's came out and said they're going to continue. It's going to continue its $5 value bundles through December, and that about, I think, 80% of franchises have signed on for that. You've also got Dunkin' has some deals now. DQ has some deals. So the summer of value is now the season of value, and consumers, these CEOs heard you. They heard you when you complained about fast food prices becoming more of a luxury than a value, and so these cheaper prices are here to stay for now.
All right. In our next block, though, we'll have a segment about how you shouldn't be eating the fast food.
Yeah, exactly. That's in the health segment. That's next.
Christine, thank you very much.
International news now, starting with another deadly round of Israeli airstrikes in the occupied West Bank.
NBC News international correspondent Claudia Labanga has the details on that and other headlines for us. Hey, Claudia, good to see you.
Savannah Jo, good morning. That's right. Israel has carried out 2 airstrikes on the occupied West Bank, killing at least 8 Palestinians. Now, according to the Palestinian Red Crescent, the first strike took place at dawn in the city of Tubas, killing 5 young men. The Israeli Defense Forces say they targeted an armed terrorist cell and said the targets were terrorists armed with explosives who posed a threat. 3 other people were killed in Tulkarem in what the IDF said was a counter-terrorism operation in the 2 cities. Let's go now to Ukraine, where the US and the UK pledged almost $1.5 billion in additional war aid. In this rare joint visit to Ukraine's capital, US Secretary of State Antony Blinken and British Foreign Secretary David Lammy met with President Zelensky and other Ukrainian officials to underscore their loyalty to the country. However, despite additional requests by President Zelensky, there are still no assurances about the provision of long-range missiles. During a press conference on Wednesday, Blinken said he will bring the case back to the White House for further discussion. The request for long-range missiles comes at a critical moment in this ongoing war as Russian troops continue to make advances in the east of the country. And let's end this tour of the world in Peru, where on Wednesday, former President Alberto Fujimori died at the age of 86. When he was first elected in 1990, Fujimori mended the economy by introducing bold actions like the mass privatization of state industries, but then he became increasingly authoritarian. In the year 2000, he fled to Japan after a corruption and bribery scandal, only to be arrested in Chile 5 years later and extradited back to Peru. He was in the end pardoned last December, and according to his daughter, he was planning to run once again for president for the 4th time in 2026. Back to you guys.
All right, Claudio, thank you so much. Coming up, we're bringing you the latest on Francine as it makes its way up the Mississippi Delta this morning.
After the break, how locals are weathering the storm in the midst of dangerous widespread flooding and power outages. It's up next. Stay with us.
Welcome back this morning. Hundreds of thousands of people along the Gulf Coast are waking up in the dark after Francine slammed the Louisiana coast as a Category 2 hurricane.
The system has since been downgraded to a tropical depression as it moves north, but not before bringing heavy winds, rain, and flooding to the region. Floodwaters have turned some streets in the New Orleans suburb of Metairie into rivers, with some areas in the state seeing up to 8 inches of rain.
For the latest, we're joined by NBC News correspondent Jesse Kirsch, who is in Kenner. Jesse, good morning. The last time we talked to you, it was still dark out. You're in Kenner. New Orleans is nearby. How are things looking around you right now?
Yeah, so Joe, we've moved just down the block from where we were last time we talked to you. You can still see some remnants of floodwaters in this intersection over here, but by and large, the waters are receding and quite rapidly. Really just in the last half hour or so, we've seen the water completely get sucked down the drains over here. But I want to show you what the water level was at one point. You can see this line of debris kind of inching along this median over here. And this gives you an idea of where the water was pushed up to. And so you can see how much has receded since then. We spoke with the mayor of this community of Kenner a short time ago. He tells me there are around 100 people whose homes, or excuse me, around 100 homes that have flooded not far from where we are. He said some of them could just be an inch, could be going all the way up to around the waist level. Thankfully, have not had any reports of deaths in this community yet, he said, but the mayor also stressed that a concern moving forward is what people will be doing with generators. If you don't use those properly and you've lost power, that can be something that can be hazardous to your health and even potentially life-threatening. The mayor says that there are around 30,000 people, a little bit more than that, potentially still without power at this point. And again, that's just in this community. We know that there have been reports of hundreds of thousands without power across the state of Louisiana. And something that always gets attention in this area and the aftermath of a storm is how the pumps have worked. And the mayor said that in this community alone, again, that's just this area, he said there are 2 pumps that were electric. Some of them were powered by diesel, but some of them are powered by electricity. And when power went out, even with generators on, the mayor says that those 2 generators, those 2 pumps were not functioning in the aftermath of the storm. And so that, of course, is something that will contribute to issues with the water clearing out. But again, in this area, I can tell you quite rapidly, we saw the water receding a short time ago, guys, and hopefully we'll continue to see that. And daylight's up now. It's easier to move around, knowing what's around us, so we'll hopefully get a better sense of the extent of the damage here soon.
So, Jesse, yeah, the number statewide that we're hearing is about 400,000 reported in Louisiana without power. I know you're there in the New Orleans area, but do you have any idea statewide? Are you hearing anything from officials about when areas that were more impacted when it comes to power outages may be back online?
I have not yet, Savannah. Admittedly, you know, it's early going with the response. I know that they were still focused on emergency-specific responses in this area, for example, right? So a lot of that assessment might be first ongoing. And our team, of course, is checking in with people and keeping an eye on how those numbers change. But I can tell you, for example, where I'm standing, there's a building right over here, a store that has the lights on. We saw street lights on in this community. So it is not a blanket blackout across the region, which is, of course, good news, both from the response perspective and also, you know, for example, there's a hospital just a stone's throw from where I am right now. So hopefully they have power too, right? Because you want to make sure that people who need help can get it.
Jesse, the storm has moved to the north of you now, but I know meteorologists are warning the danger's not totally over yet, right?
Yeah, and of course, the storm is tracking beyond where we are now. It is misting right now. So it was clear it's misting right now. I'm not seeing any substantial rainfall back where I am in New Orleans in the forecast ahead, Joe. So hopefully it stays that way. But again, in this community specifically, the mayor just stressing that at this point, the biggest risk he seems to be thinking about, or at least one of the biggest risks, is what people will be doing to try to make up for the loss of power with how they use their generators. So for anyone out there who does have a generator, make sure you are consulting, right, all of the instructions, what officials have said about how to use them properly, because misuse can be deadly.
Exactly. We don't want to see any tragedies after this storm here. Jesse, thank you so much for your reporting. Stay safe.
We're going to continue to look at the impact of Francine this morning with Cynthia Lee Shang. She's the president of Jefferson Parish in Louisiana, which is part of the greater New Orleans area where we just saw Jesse from. Cynthia, thank you very much for joining us. So yesterday, as the rain and flooding picked up, you were telling people to try to limit their water usage in their homes because the sewer system was getting overwhelmed and backed up. What is that situation like as of this morning? Is it under control?
No, that situation is still, we're going to have emergency crews going out. I have my crews going out right now. We just got to daybreak about an hour ago. And we have over 500 lift stations throughout Jefferson Parish. What happens is it's called an inflow and infiltration problem. It happens around the country with many sewer systems, but it's when the sewer system takes on water that it shouldn't, meaning storm water or rainwater, and it basically just inundates the sewer system. So in that area where you just reported, and I appreciated seeing your report myself because I was in that area probably about 4 hours ago and it did not look like that. So for me to see, that is part of Jefferson Parish that I represent that you just showed. It's good to see that the water going down, but I do have reports of neighborhoods, feeling like there was sewer water in their neighborhoods. So, that's a concern for us. And we don't want backups in people's houses. So we're going to go out today. We have an emergency contract to go out. We have vacuum trucks, we have portable pumps, and we have generators to go to those 500 lift stations. And we have some regional lift stations on both the East Bank and on the other side of the Mississippi, the West Bank, to start pumping that water out of the sewer system and try to return it to a normal condition.
In addition to the water, power, of course, a major issue. We know tens of thousands of customers are without power in your parish alone. What's the impact of that? And just what are some of the other major impacts that Francine has left behind?
Well, we have 66,000 customers without power in our parish. That brings another, issue that we have, a post-storm issue that we have. We're going to go out today, make sure traffic controls are working. But, I'm lucky that the temperatures are mild. What happens is when you lose power where we live down in South Louisiana and it's a really, really hot day, that becomes its own issue with the vulnerable population. We would have to open cooling centers. Today is a mild day. We don't expect it to rain, and it's not really, really high temperatures, so we're very blessed on that front. But we'll have to see how long it takes for people's power to come back on, because that, sort of presents its own issues. People who are reliant with their medical devices on power, we might have to start looking at our vulnerable populations and opening up some centers for that kind of stuff. So we'll have to see how quickly that power is able to be returned. And look, we lost it in different pockets, so for me, in my parish, I have to drive through downtown New Orleans, and all of downtown New Orleans was on last night. The Superdome was on. It was kind of strange. Other pockets of, our region were completely in dark, in blackness. So it was kind of surreal driving through this region last night, but that's how it happened. Different pockets of our region have lights, and other places are completely dark.
I know you had mentioned some homes along the coast in Jefferson received up to 5 inches of floodwater yesterday. Tell us what other structural damage you're seeing.
Fortunately for us, this did not, in other parishes, I'm told they had structural damages. For us in Jefferson Parish, we don't really have structural damages. It was a high rain event for us, a flooding event for us. Actually, we didn't even have a lot of trees down. No tornadoes were reported. So every storm is different, so this is going to end up being for us a rain event, a flooding event, an electrical outage event. That's what it seems like today, and a sewer event for us. And some storms we have, it's a water event. So every storm is different.
Cynthia Lee Shang, we know you have a busy morning and a busy few days ahead. So thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us this morning.
Thank you for thinking of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, extreme weather events like Francine and those wildfires also out west have once again highlighted the impact of climate change. NBC meteorologist and climate change reporter Chase Kane explains how they are linked.
The air can hold more water when it's warmer. So as temperatures rise, the atmosphere can actually take more water out of the landscape. It can absorb more water from, the soils, the plants, and it increases the aridity. And that is something that we're seeing because of human-caused climate change.
More dry vegetation means more fuel for the line fire and dozens of other wildfires burning a combined 2.2 million acres across the West. Meantime, in the Gulf, Francine continues as it moves over record hot waters, more than 2 degrees above average, and Climate Central calculates that those sea surface temperatures were 200 times more likely because of human-caused climate change.
This isn't just a tropical system. This isn't just weather. This is weather being made more intense because of climate change, and we can see that with a very clear signal in our oceans.
Plus, it's not just the surface. The warm water
right now is pretty deep.
NBC Miami hurricane specialist John Morales says that's giving storms like Francine more jet fuel to help them strengthen more quickly just before they make landfall.
And unfortunately, yes, there is more of that jet fuel that these tropical cyclones can tap into and lead to rapid intensification. Look at Otis in 2023. Tropical storm one day, Category 5 hurricane the next, and causing fatalities and causing massive destruction, nearly without warning.
And even after Francine makes landfall, the storm has the potential to drop even more flooding rains farther inland because climate change is heating up our atmosphere. So the through line is that burning oil and gas makes our atmosphere and our oceans hotter, supercharging hurricanes, how much rain they can drop, and creating more days like this. Hot and dry days that allow fires to spread more easily, especially once the wind picks up. So the bottom line is that the extremes get more extreme and we get more frequent disasters. In Highland, California, I'm meteorologist Chase Kane.
Important report. Well, coming up, he's already a legend of rock and roll. This morning, some are calling him a hero.
After the break, a rescue on a Nashville bridge with John Bon Jovi stepping in to help with one woman, perhaps when she needed it most. That's next on Morning News Now.
Welcome back. Music legend John Bon Jovi is being hailed as a hero this morning.
On Wednesday afternoon, the music legend talked a woman in distress down from the ledge of a bridge in Nashville, possibly preventing a tragedy. NBC News correspondent Stephanie Goss joins us now with more on this story. Hey, Stephanie.
Hi, guys. Good morning. John Bon Jovi may be known for his 4 decades worth of hits, but offstage, he's always been an advocate for those in need. So when that woman on the bridge who appeared to be in crisis needed help, the rock star quickly took action.
A chance encounter with John Bon Jovi turning into a life-changing moment. The legendary rocker in the right place at the right time Tuesday when police say he and his team helped save a woman on a Nashville bridge. The woman standing dangerously on the ledge over the Cumberland River. Bon Jovi then seen on surveillance footage released by police walking over and talking with her for about a minute before helping her climb over the railing to safety. The two later embracing in an emotional hug. The Grammy-winning singer, who had been filming a music video on the bridge at the time, may have been just the right person to talk to in that heart-wrenching moment.
This one goes out to the man who minds for miracles. This one goes out to the ones in need.
NBC News confirming the musician has had extensive training in speaking to individuals in crisis through his JBJ Soul Foundation. The organization helps people living in poverty across the U.S., including those facing hunger and homelessness. A mission Bon Jovi took to heart this week in Nashville and is living every moment.
With the power of with people working together to find the ills that need the needs of each individual in their respective places where they live and work, yeah, I do think that we can make a difference. I really do believe that.
In a statement with the video, police commended Bon Jovi, saying, quote, "It takes all of us to help keep each other safe." NBC News has reached out to Bon Jovi. We haven't heard back, guys.
Wow. Just amazing to see. Stephanie, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
If you or anyone you know is struggling, please call or text the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. There's that number on your screen, just 988.
Let's get to some money headlines. Finance giant J.P. Morgan is putting a cap on workload hours for young bankers.
CNBC's Silvana Hanau has that in other money news. Hey, Silvana, good morning.
Savannah, Joe, good morning to you. That is right. J.P. Morgan Chase is reportedly rolling out a measure to cap hours for junior bankers as complaints rise that their weekly workload is creeping past 100 hours. J.P. Morgan will limit junior bankers to 80 hours per week in most cases, with exceptions including extra work to complete deals. Bank of America is launching a new platform to monitor individual workloads. The death of an associate from a heart attack in May has spurred debate over whether workloads for the industry are too often unhealthy. General Mills is reportedly in advanced talks to sell its North American yogurt business for more than $2 billion. That includes the popular Yoplait brand. Bloomberg reports competition with the likes of Dannon and Chobani and a smaller market share prompted the move to potentially exit the business. General Mills is shifting its product lineup to more profitable items such as premium pet food and organic snacks. And Shake Shack is celebrating the return of football season with a special promotion. Every Sunday for the next 13 weeks, you'll be able to get a free Chicken Shack sandwich with a minimum purchase of $10. Okay. Shake Shack will be hosting tailgating pop-ups in select cities to promote the campaign. To get the deal, you must place your order, your $10 order via the Shake Shack app or in person at the kiosk, and you can then redeem the offer with the promo code Chicken Sunday. I love a Chicken Shack with some hot cherry peppers. Ooh,
I've never tried it because I go and I just want the burger.
I just want the shake. All right. Savannah, thank you.
Thank you. Well, this morning, a group of people have made history by becoming the first private civilians to complete a spacewalk. Billionaire entrepreneur Jared Isaacman is among those participating in the privately funded SpaceX Polaris mission. NBC News senior correspondent Tom Costello has the story.
Yeah, we've been watching history in the making. For the first time ever, private commercial astronauts on a spacewalk, a very risky maneuver with 41-year-old Jared Isaacman, the billionaire pilot who has always dreamed of being an astronaut, stepping out from his SpaceX capsule, and the images have been spectacular.
Initiation and crew is go for spacewalk.
This morning, the Polaris Dawn space explorers are making history. Stepping out of their SpaceX Dragon capsule.
EV1 is go.
For this record-breaking voyage, it's the riskiest maneuver yet. The spaceship does not have an airlock.
Dragon, you are go to open hatch.
So the crew had to decompress and open the entire capsule, bleeding out oxygen. All 4 members of the crew suited and exposed to the vacuum of space. They explained it all on Today.
All of us will get suited in these brand new spacesuits before we vent the spacecraft and then go outside.
Billionaire entrepreneur Jared Isaacman and SpaceX engineer Sarah Gillis venturing outside the capsule and relying on their new slimmed-down suits only attached to an oxygen line. The mission also puts those spacesuits to the test for potential future SpaceX missions to the moon and Mars. Preparing for this moment in a pre-breathe process, the astronauts had the nitrogen removed from their blood, avoiding decompression sickness, the same illness that can affect scuba divers. The Polaris Dawn astronauts setting off to space on Tuesday, breaking records, flying higher in orbit than any humans since Apollo. Seen here orbiting in space on their 3rd day of the mission. Jared Isaacman, the commander. For Jared Isaacman, this is his 2nd trip he's paying for on a SpaceX rocket. He told NBC News earlier why this mission is so critical.
We're doing things that haven't been done in, a half a century. And the idea, hopefully, is we learn a lot from it.
Before this historic spacewalk on board the Dragon capsule, crew member Anna Menon hosted a very special story time.
Gather round, my sweet dragons. Your mama is back.
The SpaceX medical officer read her book, Kisses from Space, to a select group back on Earth, including her own children and children with cancer. Proceeds from the book will benefit the St. Jude's life-saving work.
Higher and higher, we rose to the sky.
For the Polaris Dawn crew, this mission is about more than distance. It's about connection. The spacewalk is happening as a record 19 astronauts are right now orbiting the Earth as we had Russia's Soyuz mission yesterday meet up and dock with the International Space Station. And these Polaris astronauts are the subject for a wide range of scientific studies on how the human body reacts to deep space, really adding to decades of studies already, because they want to use these spacesuits and this technology and one day head to the moon and maybe beyond. Back to you.
All right, Tom, thank you so much. Well, for more on this, we're now joined by retired astronaut Clayton Anderson. Clayton, good morning. Thank you so much for being here. So this took place earlier this morning. It was delayed a few hours, but now that it's over, was it a success, and what stood out to you?
From everything I can see, and good morning to everyone, from everything I can see, it was a great success. They're back safely inside the Dragon capsule. The hatches are safely closed. I would imagine they're out of their spacesuits by now, or at least working on it. So kudos to the entire SpaceX team. It's quite an accomplishment.
Love what you're wearing this morning.
Yeah.
You understand this better than most. I mean, just describe that moment. You step out of a spacecraft for the first time, what it feels like, how significant it is then to see private civilians doing this for the first time.
For them, it's pretty incredible. One of the cool things that SpaceX and Elon Musk do is their cameras are better, their equipment's better. The views they provide to their mission control team down on the ground are way better. And of course, on this flight, they're much higher than we were. They're at like 440 miles above the Earth, where the space station, when I did my first spacewalk, was about 220 miles above the Earth. So their view is even more spectacular. It's important to note that the first time I went out the hatch, and probably the first time they went out the hatch, that it takes your breath away a little bit. But I was so focused, as he probably was, on doing the right thing and making the right steps and not making a mistake, that it takes you a bit of time to pause and actually take a look and take in your surroundings.
Wow. It's interesting hearing our Tom Costello say a minute ago that their bodies are sort of being used, right, as this study to see what happens to them when they're so far out there. What does that mean? What type of impacts are we looking to happen to these human bodies?
Well, the use of their new spacesuit is considerably important, and I don't know much, honestly, about their new spacesuit. They have a heads-up display. It's slimmed down. It's easier to maneuver in, or at least it appears to be easier to maneuver in. And those are all important considerations, but you have to remember that there's no airlock on the Dragon, and so they had to open and depressurize the entire spaceship to vacuum, which means all four of them were in their suits and susceptible to all of those things. So you're looking at how does the body react? How do we get as much nitrogen out of our bloodstream as possible so that we can minimize the possibility of the bends? It makes your head feel a little different, or at least it did for me, as we depressurized and the pressure in the suit was different. Your voice is different. The audio is different. There are all sorts of things that they can learn from that I hope will help even with NASA's future spacesuits.
If you're on a spacewalk, you obviously have a job to do, but were you able to just take a moment for yourself, to pause and just look out there and have that image in your mind for life?
Yes, and they were much better in that regard in terms of their climbing up their little ladder, and they're just sitting there and looking. That's pretty cool. I wish I would have had that opportunity. You know, I was so focused on work that you have to tell yourself to stop for a minute and take a look at what's going on below you. And when you do, then you don't want to go back to work.
God, it's so neat. It takes such a special kind of person, you included, because that looks so scary to me, just being on that tiny little thing at the end of that ladder. Clayton Anderson, thank you so much for joining us. So fascinating to hear your perspective.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
We are back with another record breaker for Las Vegas Aces star A'ja Wilson. The two-time WNBA MVP scored the most points ever in a season. She scored 27 points in yesterday's winning game against the Indiana Fever. Get this, that puts her season point total at 956, which also puts her on track to become the first WNBA player to reach 1,000 points scored in a single season. It is the cherry on top of an all-star year for Wilson after she helped Team USA take home an 8th consecutive gold medal in this summer's Paris Olympics, and she was also named the tournament MVP. 1,000 points in a season. It doesn't even seem possible to me.
Taking in all the honors. Well-deserved. Yes. All right.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.